Welcome back, everyone. If you've been following along with our deep dive into performance psychology and negotiation tactics, you know that mastering the subtle art of influence is a marathon, not a sprint. Today, we are tackling one of the most potent, yet often misunderstood, levers of power: authority bias. This isn't just some fluffy concept from a business school seminar. This is foundational psychological warfare, and understanding it means you can fundamentally change how people perceive your value, and thus, what they are willing to pay for it. The core thesis we're exploring today is deceptively simple: establishing instant credibility and perceived expertise, even if you're not the most knowledgeable person in the room, to guide the negotiation outcome. It's about making yourself seem indispensable, like the sole source of truth that everyone else needs to hear. We are going to dissect this concept from its scientific roots right through to actionable, real-world hacks you can deploy before your next big meeting. Think of this as the ultimate playbook for perceived expertise. Let's start with the science. What exactly is authority bias? Scientifically speaking, it's a cognitive bias that causes individuals to attribute greater accuracy and credibility to sources of information simply because they are perceived as being an authority figure. Your brain is lazy, it takes shortcuts. When someone wears a lab coat, or speaks in jargon, or cites a fancy-sounding report, your primitive brain doesn't pause to evaluate the actual data, it just says, "Oh, expert. Must be true." That's the mechanism at play. The human translation of this complex concept is brutally simple: because the experts say so, you don't have a choice. You are selling certainty in an uncertain world, and authority is the currency of certainty. So, how do you manufacture this perception? You can't just be an expert overnight. You have to perform expertise. This means controlling the narrative flow, managing your vocabulary, and most importantly, mastering the art of citation. The actionable hack here is critical: use proprietary data or cite third-party industry reports, even if slightly cherry-picked, to lend weight to your claims. Never just state an opinion, always frame it as a conclusion drawn from superior research. You are not giving advice, you are presenting findings. When we talk about proprietary data, we aren't talking about the raw numbers themselves, we are selling the process by which those numbers were gathered. You need to make the audience feel like they are privy to information that is not available anywhere else, that it's locked behind your unique methodology. Use phrases like, "Our Q3 internal modeling suggests," or "based on our longitudinal study of market trends." This immediately elevates you from a mere participant in the conversation to the architect of the insight. Another critical element is the physical presentation of authority. Think about your environment. Are you in a cluttered, chaotic space? Or are you in an area that suggests control, precision, and high value? Your surroundings should reinforce the message, "I am competent, therefore my ideas are valuable." If you can't control the room, control the materials. Use expensive-looking binders, branded stationery, or presentation decks with minimalist, authoritative design. Everything must scream competence. Now let's talk about jargon, and I mean strategic jargon. Don't use it to confuse, use it to signal that you operate on a higher level of understanding than the average person in the room. Sprinkle in industry-specific acronyms or highly technical terms, but do so sparingly and with absolute confidence. The key is not volume, but precision. It suggests deep immersion and specialized knowledge. If they don't understand it immediately, that's fine. Your goal isn't comprehension, it's the perception of depth. The tone of voice is equally crucial. Authority requires gravitas. You must slow down your speech. Articulate every word as if it were the most important piece of information ever delivered. Avoid filler words like "mem," "like," or "you know." Pauses are not signs of uncertainty, they are rhetorical tools. They allow the weight of your last statement to settle, making the listener feel that they have just received a profound truth. When citing third parties, always use names that sound weighty. Think tanks, highly selective academic institutions, or major international consulting firms. Don't just say, "A report suggests." Say, "According to the latest findings from the Peterson Institute for Global Economics." The specificity adds layers of perceived rigor and depth that are impossible to ignore. Remember the principle of scarcity. If you give away all your data, all your insights, and all your expertise up front, you become worthless. You must strategically withhold information, making the audience believe that access to the full truth requires them to commit to your solution or your partnership. This is where the negotiation leverage truly kicks in. Consider the power of visualization. If you are presenting, don't just show bullet points. Show complex models, interconnected graphs, and flowcharts that only you seem to understand fully. These visuals act as intellectual barriers. They make it harder for others to challenge your premise because they lack the framework to critique it. This isn't about lying, it's about framing. You are guiding the conversation toward an outcome that benefits you by establishing yourself as the necessary guide. If a client asks a question that challenges your core premise, don't defend it with emotion. Instead, pivot back to your proprietary data and say, "That's an interesting angle, but if we look at the macro-level indicators from our analysis." You redirect the focus back to the source of authority. The subtle act of interrupting, not to argue, but to clarify the scope of the problem, can be incredibly powerful. By correcting minor inaccuracies in their understanding, you position yourself as the ultimate arbiter of truth. You are not arguing, you are simply providing necessary clarity based on your superior knowledge base. When you are perceived as an authority, your opinions carry weight that transcends mere facts. They become expert consensus. This is why framing your claims not as personal beliefs, but as the inevitable conclusion of superior data analysis, is so effective. You are selling inevitability. If you're dealing with multiple stakeholders, ensure that your authority is perceived consistently across all groups. Don't let one department or individual undermine your credibility by asking a question you can't answer immediately. Have backup data points ready for every potential weak spot in your narrative. One advanced tactic is the expert anecdote. Instead of citing general reports, weave in highly specific, detailed stories about how your methodology solved an extremely complex problem for another company. These anecdotes must be rich with jargon and proprietary details, making the solution seem unique to your process. Never let them corner you into an emotional debate. Authority operates in the realm of logic and data. If the conversation becomes heated or personal, immediately pivot back to the objective metrics. With all due respect, you might say, "Let's set aside the emotion for a moment and look at what the Q2 market indicators suggest." This instantly cools the temperature and re-establish your control. The use of specialized terminology related to risk assessment or future forecasting is particularly potent. Terms like systemic vulnerability, mitigation matrix, or long-tail risk instantly signal that you are thinking several steps ahead of everyone else in the room, which is exactly what high-value clients pay for. When you present data, always frame it as an optimization problem. You aren't just presenting facts, you are presenting the single best path forward that only your unique combination of insights can reveal. The implicit message is, if you don't follow my lead, you will fail. Another powerful tool is the comparative authority. You don't just claim to be good, you compare your process favorably against industry standards and existing solutions. But never disparage competitors directly. Instead, frame it as, while many systems handle X, our proprietary model accounts for Y, which is the critical missing variable. The physical act of having materials, a custom binder, a unique report cover, branded pens, reinforces the idea that your knowledge is packaged and valuable. These are not mere props, they are tangible evidence of your deep investment in the subject matter. When you speak about the market, always use grand, sweeping language. Talk about macro trends, geopolitical shifts, and paradigm changes. This elevates the discussion from a transactional level, how much, to an existential one, what is the future of this entire industry? You become the prophet. The confidence must be unwavering. If you stumble or hedge your bets even once, the entire edifice of perceived authority can crumble. Practice these scenarios until they feel natural. You are not just presenting data, you are performing certainty. Consider the timing of your revelations. Don't dump all your best insights at once. Structure your presentation like an escalating reveal, a series of increasingly profound findings that build momentum and make the final conclusion feel absolutely necessary. If you are in a negotiation, always guide them toward using your proprietary data as the primary justification for any financial commitment. Make it clear that the numbers demand their action. You are not asking, you are simply reporting the logical conclusion of superior metrics. The power of pre-framing. Before you even enter the room, send out preliminary materials that contain highly specific terminology and complex models. This primes their minds to expect a high level of expertise from you, making your arrival feel less like an introduction and more like a continuation of advanced research. Never allow them to define the scope of the problem. Always subtly expand it using your specialized knowledge base. By showing them that their initial understanding was incomplete, that there are hidden variables they missed, you immediately establish yourself as the superior diagnostician. This entire process is about controlling cognitive load. You are making it too difficult for them to think critically or challenge you because the sheer volume and complexity of your authoritative input overwhelms their capacity for skepticism. It's a psychological chokehold, executed with impeccable professionalism. The final takeaway is that authority isn't earned through years of quiet competence, it is performed in the moment. It is a skill set, a performance art, built on meticulous preparation, strategic language use, and an absolute conviction in your own superior understanding. Master this, and you will find yourself consistently guiding outcomes to your desired conclusion.